talked about a landmark ruling. I think it's a landmark ruling, considering that it's not the first time this issue is going to court. The first time in 2014 it was shot down on technicalities, but this time round a 5-member bench unanimously supported the process and the law according to how it was presented to Parliament and how it was passed. And the petition has included law dons from Makerere University, human rights activists, and actually members of the NRM. Now, gentlemen, while the judges struck down some provisions of this law, such as requiring landlords or medical personnel to report clients who are homosexuals, they deemed this requirement contrary to the rights to health, privacy, adequate standard of living, and religion, thus inconsistent with the Constitution. Some of the provisions of this legislation were struck out, but this was just a fraction of the whole legislation. We have discussed this matter before. Gentlemen in the studio, let's go straight to those salient issues behind this legislation. Like, for instance, if I may ask you, Dr. Gerard, did you expect this ruling? Did you see it coming?
Yeah, in the affirmative, I must say I agree that I did not expect a very much different ruling from this, because as you rightly put it, previously under the Honorable Rebecca Kadaga, you know that the same legislation was very popular, but on the day that it was passed, there was no quorum in the House. So I think when I saw the Honorable Anita Mong, the Speaker, mobilize the House to full capacity, to be honest, I knew that it was going to be very difficult to challenge this law after legislation. And therefore, the outcome of the ruling, to me, is not surprising. And also, this case is not an ordinary case because, one, it has political bearing locally, and then also globally, and also internationally. You know that Uganda is not the only one that has passed this kind of law. We have had a similar law passed in Ghana. We have had some other African countries also trying to bring up the same similar legislations. And our own neighbors here, Kenya, they were also fighting in the Supreme Court last year, whereby the homosexuals wanted even the homosexual or led organizations to be recognized by law and registered. So while it may look domestic, yes, because it has some benefits for some political actors, it is also a law that Uganda does not take very, very lightly, because it is part of the global, the African advocacy against bulldozing on issues of sexual orientation, which our laws and our politicians have called a deviation from our cultures and tradition. And I saw that playing out very strongly in the ruling, whereby the justices of the Supreme, of the Constitutional Court affirmed that, one, there is no international consensus on issues of sexual orientation and sexual discrimination, and it does not play anywhere in respect to treaties specifically focusing on sexual orientation. Secondly, they said, whereas we are within the international context, we also know that rights must be addressed. The issue of human rights, the issue of democracy must be addressed within the framework of the local cultures, tradition, and the local values. So to me, I believe I did not expect a different ruling.
You did.
And this matter is going to continue playing out here locally and on the continent.
All right.
Because now the question that's coming out, why Africans are becoming so assertive on this, is that, one, why is that the same homosexuals are not allowed in the Arab world and they are punished very heavily, but the focus is on Africa, you know. I think this also makes the the citizens of Africa to take it that there is a lot of bullying, there is a lot of political bullying using the Africans as a tool to achieve whatever you want. And for me, as an African, I believe that even if I am poor, I shouldn't be humiliated by accepting something that that don't flow with my values.
Yeah, that's true.
And so for me, that is very important that this law is upheld because it is popular in Uganda. It was enacted democratically by the representatives of the people of Uganda. And actually, if you went and slowly you carried out, a research finding, and to see whether this law is popular or not, maybe 99% of Ugandans will tell you that they don't like these homosexual practices in Uganda. And lastly, as I conclude on this matter, I have lived around, okay? Of course, many people, commentators have argued that you cannot legislate for sex, okay? Because they believe this is done in private. But even the colonial times, the Bazungu here enacted laws against bestiality, sleeping with animals, against homosexuality. Those laws have been in our books. What we only did was to strengthen. And also, of course, yes, and the justices, they struck out some sections. For instance, giving me a duty, maybe as a landlord, to go to report or to deny people accommodation. I think that was right to be struck off, because what people do in private, in their rooms, we are not privy to it. And I think they just are being conscious that this can create some problems, including denying of right to housing for some people. The difficult method, which I don't think will impact society so much, is that, yes, these groups have some known. I lived in Ntinda here. We knew places where they converge. I never saw police, even a single day, going to disrupt them. And we all knew at Nsimbi's Wome that they stay there. They live there, they drink there. In Mbale, if you go to Aboa Road, close to cricket, everyone in Mbale said, that bar is for homosexuals. I've not seen the police raid, beat up them, but most time it is full of white people. And people look at them as, okay, they can do it there as long as they are not promoting it in our society. So I did not expect a different ruling, and I think this is for our own values. But of course, if we are saying that Africans, we need to promote our values, let's not only look at that. Because even theft is not allowed in African culture. We should also punish theft, including theft of public resources.
Richard, briefly, did you expect this ruling?
Yeah, you see, in an earlier ruling by the Court of Appeal, there was an organization that wanted to register with the Registration Services Bureau, something sexual minorities, I think something. And the Uganda Registration Services Bureau said, no, we will not, because you are outside the law. This homosexuality, whatever, is outside the law. And they went to the Court of Appeal. And the Court of Appeal said, yes, the Registration Services Bureau is right. So the sense that the judiciary was unlikely to strike out this law and put a permanent injunction, because those were the prayers.
Yes.
Yeah, and put a permanent injunction against, including Parliament, from enacting anything, was really... but when you go advocating, you advocate for the most extreme positions, but also for the, what can I say, the ideal situation that you would want. And then you see what you can get. So in this case, the gay rights, the gay community, advocacy community, did not come out with nothing.
Oh.
No. There were some elements that were struck out in this law. That's one. And so I think for them, they also had some wins. The second thing, Apollo, I think this law is really about a group that is going for what they call individual rights, the supremacy of individual rights, and the rights of a society or a community. So what is there? What is supreme, or how do you balance? Clearly, at least the Ugandan society that is speaking out loudly in general and in majority, at least from the voices, they are saying, don't promote homosexuality, don't bring homosexuality here, don't promote it to our children, don't. And then you have the groups that say, no, the individual rights must be. So I think the court was balancing this. But the other thing that I think we also must talk about is that sex is social, but sex is beyond social and culture. Sex is political. Yes, absolutely. And sex is economic. So we also must understand that all the other things around sex, sexuality, sexual, whatever it is they call it, even gender is described on sex, you know, this is not just, it's social, it's society, it's communal, but it is also political and it is economic. And this is what is playing out now in my view.
Okay. I take the pressure now to introduce Honorable Mugore. You're most welcome.
Thank you.
I'll ask you to quickly speak to our viewers and go directly to the topic for discussion. And the question is, did you expect this ruling, especially after the backlash we have witnessed from Western powers and all that has happened between May, when it was passed, and today?
Viewers, first of all, I want to thank you for viewing, but greet you that may God grant you whatever you need. I know every morning somebody prays, but I'm also praying for you. As Ugandans, I want to thank my people whom I represent, but I represent everybody. Kabweri, good morning.
Wow.
I'm here again after some 2 weeks or so.
Yeah.
The other weekend, the daughter who introduced got married off. She had a wedding.
Congratulations.
So I think that's why I was not here that weekend.
Oh, you were welcoming a son?
Yeah, I was welcoming a son from Kisoro. All the way from Kisoro to Ukedi. Yeah.
But so that's a border wedding.
Yes.
From border to border.
From border to border. Yes. So the question.
Yep.
Considering the overwhelming support that was given while passing this law in Parliament, where only 1 or 2 MPs opposed and the rest bipartisanly voted for the bill, I expected this ruling, because even the courts are people. They are human beings. They live in the same society. How do they really struck out this bill and even put a permanent injunction
On its implementation.
on its implementation? You see, there are many things the Baganda say, Sivambi Adibya Mutere. So even when you are going to court, the way you pray can cause your
The prayers from the petitioner were extreme.
extreme. You can't pray like that.
What else would they have prayed for?
They would have prayed for what the court has ruled, that some of the sections are really infringing on other rights of other people who are not homosexuals.
I hear you.
Because what was the main purpose, what was the spirit of the law, was to fight majorly practice, but also promotion.
Yeah.
But the major one was promotion. Because the practice is not that it is done. Even the Bible the Bible says, if you are found in this act, be killed. If you are found. So to mean if you are not found, you will not be killed. Even the Bible envisages that those people are there. But the issue was the practice. If you are practicing it in open, then in essence, you are promoting it.
Yeah.
So when we're passing this law, we're majorly on promotion, and the anger was about our children who were being inculcated into a culture they don't know, bad one, and they were coming out to reveal how bad what they have entered is. And the parliament reacted that way because we are the representatives of the people. But I remember when I was here on the very show about the anti-homosexuality bill, raising these matters also, that for me, any law must be smart, specific, measurable, and realistic.
Yeah, true.
Because if you see what was the specificality of this law was promotion and practice. Now, for me to say, me who is a passerby, I should report, and if I don't report,
That was in itself unrealistic.
yes, unrealistic. I can't be culpable for that, because what are the mechanisms of reporting? Those regulations have not even been made. I am a landlord. I stay in Kampala. My house is in Imbarara. So we are measuring even the area.
No, we assume you are there, and you
No,
get to know
the presumption was that
an offense is being
knowingly. Knowingly.
Yes.
How do you measure knowingly?
Okay.
So I'm trying to say a law must be smart. So the court has smartened the law.
Okay.
And what we are going to do in Parliament is to have an amendment to the law, because those sections
Must be
have been struck
removed.
out. When the petitioners say they are going to
the Supreme Court.
the Supreme Court, we know the gymnastics of the law, because we are the makers of the law. That is a law we can request for the ministry to bring back to the floor for amendment, and we give the committee 1 day.
Okay.
Just to remove this, and the following day it is in Parliament, and we amend and pass it immediately before the matter is even with the Supreme Court. That is possible.
Does that save anything
It does.
when you amend it quickly and you pass it?
Yes, because we are following what the Court of Appeal has
I
said.
mean, before they lodge a petition in the Supreme
Yeah,
Court.
before they lodge, you shall have done that. If I was the speaker,
Okay.
that's what I would do. But even then, even if we went to the Supreme Court, it is the Supreme Court of Uganda, which very justices also see what the uproar would be in this country if you
Now,
say.
do they make their judgments on the sentiments?
I can assure you there are many judgments that are made. I cannot rule out sentimental judgment
in this particular law?
in this particular law, because you know you can cause an uprising.
Oh.
When a judge is making a ruling, he considers a number of aspects. Nobody should tell you that a judge is not a living being. He's a living being who knows, if I judged this way, this could be the repercussions.
By saying they are going to appeal to the Supreme Court, do you think after this ruling of 5-0, do you think this is, this is about saving their face, or are they sore losers? Or they are actually pursuing what they believe is an injustice on their side?
I've seen their promoters saying that the ruling that was delivered a day before yesterday is just a step in the right direction, but not really an end.
Oh.
To mean they will continue to pursue
Oh.
But like my colleague said, I'm certain that they are happy to a certain extent that a certain leverage has been given to them not to follow them where they are renting, where they are hiring, but the court maintained the issue of promotion that shouldn't.
Thank you. Richard, talk about the intent to appeal in the Supreme Court. What do you think is exactly the petitioners are pursuing? Is it that they feel the ruling is not just, or they are trying to save face?
First is you see, we get faulted when we don't talk about they have a right to appeal, it's a process, blah, blah, blah. We would go into that. Yeah, so they have a right to appeal.
They do.
It's their right. It's the judicial way to go. But there are also a couple of things that oftentimes appeal processes can come with additional wins.
Oh.
Yeah. So there are things that were struck out of the law. They are, I'm sure, absolutely the petitioners are happy. I am convinced.
They are.
Yes, because they allow room for, you know, room for rigor for the ones they are petitioning for. But also at the higher courts, sometimes you get more relief. Some more reliefs are given.
Oh.
But the other thing is that away from the politically correct things that we have to present, we also have to go to the economic elements of this. Some of the people really are in this for money.
Some of the
the
people
petitioners.
The petitioners
Some of the
and the
petitioners are in for money.
Petition,
Yes.
are also in it for money. And you see, sometimes we...
No, some of the petitioners or some of the people who support
Petitioners,
Petitioners,
farms.
No, I want him to be specific.
I said
One or
some
another.
of the petitioners and
Okay.
some of the law groups.
Okay, that is good. That's
Yes.
clear.
So the human rights, I don't know what the individual want. They are there for money because there is money there. There is support for these petitions, for the court, for promoting homosexuality, for defending rights, whatever name you call it. So some of the people are really...
So even insisting they are going to the Supreme Court,
Some of them.
there is that
Yes.
element that
Yes, some of them have this...
we have
pecuniary
an economic
Yes.
interest to lose
Yes.
in this
or
issue.
to gain.
Or to gain in this issue.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah.
So that group is also there. There are also those who are practicing homosexuals, who believe that their right is infringed on, who
Yeah.
believe. So there are those ones who are also in belief that they are pushing for what is rightly theirs. But you also come across people who invest and who are convinced totally that they must defend the right of the individual against anything else. The right of the individual is supreme, the communal or society, whatever, are secondary. They are in this group. So you have a mix
Oh yeah.
of these people and these groups that are in this one. So the appeal goes on. We will also see who will be part of the appeal, if all of them will be part of the appeal. And they could gain something apart from the pecuniary. But there are also those ones who want to be quote unquote good to the Western world, to the access to the embassies, access to the travels, and what this.
That is the economic interest you
beyond
talked about.
economic reality, people have also a feel good factor.
Others have families in the other side.
In the other side, but also have a feel good factor. I opposed this. You can see some individuals whom I have been with from secondary school through university in professional practice, and they have always opposed the tide.
I can
You can,
I
you
can
can start
see.
imagining
I can
where I
see.
am headed. Yeah, so you can, so this one's life is about opposing. And that's how they feel important, that's how they remain on the stage, that's how they get access and networks. So you have a mix.
So, Richard, that somehow tells that some people are opportunistic. I mean, there is opportunism in this whole thing.
Yes.
But you see, for me,
Because if you don't believe in it, if you don't believe in homosexuality, but you stand to oppose the legislation that is so popular, and like you said, you want just to either feel good, I mean, to be in the good books of
Yeah, I
of
can.
some
I
leaders
can
in the
tell you,
Western world.
even if you have asked Richard that we had a number of MPs who could not talk at all because their families are outside this country. He knows he can be denied a visa. He knows his family can be affected. His family is majorly in Canada, his family is in the US, and it is known that's where his family dwells. Therefore, he is in fear to say anything. And that is opportunism.
Opportunism,
Yes, that's opportunism. Because
But-
self-centered.
but also it is realism.
Yeah, true.
I keep talking about this realism also. We also must inject this thing with realism.
Meaning there are those that believe that that's what it should be.
There are those ones who, yes, or no, who do not even, they are not standing for homosexuality
At all.
They are saying that any individual right, that for example, and that's what I was telling you, that even in the previous years, we discussed this in New York, when Dr. Hakana Rugunda was still, that when you bring a death sentence, there are people who will oppose you. It just does not matter what issue it is. They are opposed to the death sentence. And that's also a powerful lobby.
Universally,
Yes.
they don't. They
So
don't
we
agree.
have a mixture
Okay.
of interests here, and we need to recognize them. So there are those ones who are realistic. Some of us are, what can I say, a little stubborn. Because I also travel all around, I need to have access to these travels.
And you have something to lose.
Yes, I have something to lose.
Yes.
Make your position clear.
No, but you see, my position is also clear. Yes, my position is, and I keep saying this, that until you make it a public issue, sex is largely a private issue.
Yeah, true.
The practice of sex is, but the wider sexuality is no longer a bedroom private matter. It's political, it's communal, and it's economic.
I get you.
Yes. Yes.
Dr. Jared Nsala, it looks like your colleagues look at this ruling as a win-win, that both sides scored or won something. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think in my earlier submission, I stated the sections that were removed. One relating to housing. So if you are homosexual who was renting and you are worried that they will know and evict you from the house and therefore deny you your right to housing, you shouldn't be worried anymore as long as
you are safe now.
You're safe.
Oh.
So if a person like me, I was given the obligation to report them, which is not actually my duty to look for homosexuals and report.
Because me and you were given that duty. By law.
Yes.
We had given you that duty.
Duty. So if it has been struck, then I'm also safe. I will not be accused under the same law that, you might have knowingly realized at this point sleeping and doing it there.
Okay.
So I agree entirely that they took something from it. But of course the bigger part of it that looks at the community, protection of the social, what he's talking about, the community values. I have seen some legal minds challenging that and saying court based on assumptions without proof that maybe this kind of practices are impacting society. But we have had cases where, like a school in Busoga, where a whole school almost closed because of an incident. So if such an incident is reported to happen in the school and it's going to affect all the children in the school, then I think it's rightly that the law comes in.
Okay. And from you, talk about the intent to appeal. From the ruling now, do you envisage a situation where the Supreme Court may overturn this ruling?
When I was beginning, apart from when I look at this law and what plays around this law,
If at all
in
they
the
appeal,
beginning,
if at all
I
they
said it is not only about the law. And I think Richard brought it that this sexuality is about political, economic, and so forth. So there are political aspects within this, and they will not cease to play out. They will continue in the Supreme Court. Because, I mean, if you want to strike out a law which has 99% support of the citizens, then who are you legislating for? For who? So at the end of the day, I see that nothing much will change. But you never know. Maybe there are maybe one or two other takeaways from that, but I don't see
possibly
the law.
we'll get time to discuss that
Exactly. And then
when
lastly,
they do appeal.
Just lastly, a final one. I was reading about a Swedish lobby, and I think a Norwegian, who are saying that actually we should amend even our Equal Opportunities Act, so that we include in sexual orientation. If you look at the institutions, the law and the equal opportunities, really, how will you prove certain aspects of sexual orientation violations anyway? So we need to do laws that are practical. And you can't come and begin bulldozing.
We only have 5 minutes to the break. Richard, briefly talk about now, if at all you think this whole backlash that we have seen before, and now that you said they have won something, if the West possibly will slow down.
No. You see, you need to understand the West, quote unquote. For example, the United States, the EU, and we are very quick to respond. Like some of us, I think they also expected that largely the judgment would go this way. But within the United States, there are states which have laws like this one. How come those ones have not been banished or have not stopped being part of the United States? But you have to understand that in the West, the homosexual lobby is very, very strong. So it's not that the leaders necessarily care that much. It is that they also must respond to the political situation. And that's the politicalness. But then they understand very well that, for example, while you can politically bully the weak African nations, you can't politically do this, annoy the Arab world. That the public sentiment, the kind of public sentiment you have here, if you try to bully the Arab world, you would lose economically.
Yeah, you lose much.
So while they are responding to domestic political pressure, they also must balance it with very important economic pragmatism.
Okay.
Because for us, they can bully us. But I can tell you, Apollo, if you had a majority of African countries, for example, taking a similar stand, you would see these people roll back.
Okay. And then do you also believe that they will possibly roll back after winning some few?
They rolled back already. You see, World Bank had said they are not going to sponsor a number of projects.
Yeah.
I can assure you that they are sponsoring now.
Yeah.
Already. They rolled back because explanations were made on how we came up to this law. Now the leverage that has come in, and yet other African states are also coming up to pass similar laws. Like Richard says, truly we are going to strike a balance. There is nothing much because of this law that will affect Uganda. I know there has been that backlash. The backlash has been majorly in words. Actions have been few.
No, sanctions are there. The Speaker of Parliament cannot go to the US now.
Those are small things. Trouble is not an issue.
And several other MPs actually.
Those are fewer things that that are said, but not done. Those are for 2, 3, 4 individuals, but we are trying to respond to the backlashes that have been there. And I said they have already toned down.
Of aid cuts.
Number one, they knew that they had appealed. The appeal has given them some gains. Whereas Parliament brought all this for purposes of fighting promotion. I'm not saying that we did bad. We're doing all this to fight promotion. But in trying to fight promotion, you saw that in certain parts, some infringements were going to people who were not necessarily homosexuals. That has been removed.
Okay.
And they were also crying about this too. That's what they were saying. This is the most harsh law against anti-homosexuality. So now there is some leverage.
Okay.
And I don't think that the Supreme Court will change much. What are they appealing against?
Okay, finally from you in just 1 minute, Doctor. Same issue, same question. Do you think or do you hope the Western world will roll back a bit now that they have made some gains? They have witnessed and firsthand that Uganda has refused. Do you think they will roll back? And
because of the need to satisfy the lobby groups, they will continue making some noise. But down under the table, they will continue
aid will keep coming,
striking a balance, between, like, let me tell you for sure, certain embassies here that used to be very tough on the Ugandan government, including the UK embassy, I can mention, they have now resorted to what I call a soft power approach. That they looked at a condition where countries like China are using a soft power approach and making a lot of inroads while they lose out on business themselves. They are now doing the same, including hiring officers for the same, to engage on culture exchanges, on tourism, on business, support infrastructure. That reform is ongoing, especially in light of the Ukraine-Russia conflict.
So literally you're saying Ugandans should not worry, nothing much.
We have to move consciously. Of course, certain groups, 1 or 2, will take certain actions. But you see that even the US government changed the strategy. Instead of moving directly to serious sanctions, they say, okay, let's keep the HIV funding going. Let's do we don't want to hurt the Ugandan people. Then they put sanctions on travel.
That is politics.
That's
we will go for a short break. This is the dialogue. And when we return, we'll conclude on this matter and look at another issue in Parliament about the quest to release or to free the jailed NUP supporters. This week, the man of the moment is Baraam Baragahara. He came up with a pledge to release jailed NUP supporters. But we're asking, is it now becoming the right way to do it? Let's go for a break and return after this short while.
Soul Television, Femunyo. Don't miss on
Get yourself a Zuku TV decoder and satellite dish today at a low price of only 105,000 Ugandan shillings and a Zuku decoder at only 60,000 Ugandan shillings and enjoy your favorite movies, series, kids entertainment, music, local and international news and loads more. Enjoy amazing packages like Zuku Smart, Zuku Smart Plus, Zuku Classic, Zuku Premium and Zuku Asia. Get connected today. Zuku, life got better.
Osmosis is coming.
Osmosis, what's the money? When do you see him? Send him to Momo.
My bossy, can I borrow fuel? Biggie money, can I borrow renty? Manager, give me some caloni. Okay, what about 5K?
When you need a loan, you've got MTN Momo. Wesotinge. Use the Momo app or dial *165*5# for all quick loans. Choose from the different loan options from our partners and get one that works for you. Together, we're unstoppable.
nga tuli mu nteekateeka ezizimba nkwegayiridde situkira mwozimbe n'ekyosobola katonda tatuwangako kye tutajja kusobola not at all buli ku makya mutuntu akawungeezi ogenda kwebaka mukama ng'akuwaddeyo omukisa weereza ssente ez'okuzimba yonna gy'oli teweetaaga na kuva wakaawo nti ate ogende ku mobile money atawo olinyewo ka boda nezandibadde zirinnya ka boda nazo ziweereze zikole ku kuzimba oba oli ku network ki oba oli ku network ki genda bugenzi ku simu yo onyige *291# nziramu oba oli ku network ki oba oli ku network ki genda bugenzi ku simu yo onyige *291# bw'omala oginyiga eyo eba ekusaba merchant code. Merchant code teekamu 1070 oba teekamu 1026. Choose one of the two. Merchant code teekamu 1070 oba teekamu 1026 ng'onyiga kati awo ng'ekusaba amawunti. Katonda yatugondezaamu n'atuweera abantu amagezi ne baleeta tekinologiya kwezo sente z'oyisa ku FlexPay n'ebitaano bitambula. Weereza 5, weereza 1,000, weereza 1,500, weereza 2,000, weereza 345, weereza 6,789, weereza 2,000 oba 3 oba 4 oba 5, weereza 10,000 oba 2 oba 3 oba 4 oba 5, weereza 1,000,000 oba 2 oba 3 oba 4 oba 5 oba 1,010,000 ku FlexPay. Tutandika ne siringi 5. FlexPay tutandika ne siringi 5. So bw'omala okuteekamu amawunti gy'oyagadde yonna ng'onyiga ng'ekugamba ekusaba reason. Bw'onyiga ekusaba reason. Reason teekamu ekigambo Pentagon oba teekamu ekigambo church oba teekamu ekigambo HPMI which stands for House of Prayer Ministries International. Bw'omala okussaamu reason nyiga. Bw'onyiga reason ng'omaze ogissaamu ejja kugamba nti sente oziwadde House of Prayer Ministries International. Press 1 to confirm. Awo nyiga emu okonfaminge. Eddemu ekkakase nti oziwadde House of Prayer Ministries International. Ekyo bwe kiggwa nyiga teekamu pini koodi yo. Kakasanga buli lunaku ozimba. Era buli lw'ozimba weererezaako n'essaala.
Television, Femunyo.
Mengo support is
Welcome from the break. This is the dialogue. My name is Prince Apollo. Thank you so much for being our audience. Dr. Gerard Wanzara, a public policy researcher, is here. Richard Baguma, communication expert, and Honorable Mugore Stephen, a member of parliament for Kabweri County, is a trade unionist and a strong Pan-Africanist. We are looking at the big stories, and in the previous hour we were looking at the court ruling and possibly what now we should expect after this landmark constitutional court ruling, when the justices of the Constitutional Court rejected a petition to annul the Anti-Homosexuality Act. And like I said, you can be part of this discussion. Send in your comments and observations on 0701 609906. The producer will run it on the screen. Let's get your voices heard. Good morning, Mr. Tusime and the panel. I would like to give credit where it's due and thank the Almighty God, Allah, who created Adam and Eve to live together as husband and wife, not husband and husband or wife and wife. God was not a fool. I would like to thank the Parliament, Judiciary and the Executive for staying firm on this matter. We shall not bow down to pressure from the West. We are pure Africans, not dilute Africans. Congratulations to the government and the people of Uganda. Once again, there is no space for homosexuality in Uganda and Africa at large. Major Otim Joel from the United Republic of Chirinya sent in that message. Thank you so much, Joel. Thank you. He says, Uncle Apollo, good morning. There is no reason to celebrate because the disease called gayism has eaten our society. It is being promoted by the elite class that has failed to get money through formal means, and so they have opted to use such funny means like promoting it. Here in Buyende, he says they are already promoting it in Buyende. It is said that 2 of the best schools promote this disease. Greetings to Mr. Baguma. I am Magaya from Buyende. Thank you, Magaya. Andrew, thank you so much for the observations. But
Magaya has told me he's an ardent viewer.
Wow, true. We invite you to keep these messages coming in as we conclude on this matter. I want to make my observation, and you make a comment if you would like, Dr. Gerard. I think the Africans now are rediscovering their strengths, their power, and their right to determine their destiny within their laws, the legislation, and their way of living. What do you think from this court ruling and what you said, that possibly we may not see the West reacting, in a much harsher manner than what we have witnessed?
I think what we should do is, one, to stay firm on our position as a country, and then 2, also we look at allies on the continent who are standing firm against the same, and then also 3, to be careful, especially the enforcers of the law, not to use this particular legislation to go after political enemies, because I've seen now some politicians worried, saying that tomorrow you can be baptized the homosexual and you are taken to Luzira. 1, to achieve 2 objectives: to discredit you in the population, and also to curtail your political, of course, journeys. So I think that in enforcement we should be as objective as possible.
Okay.
But also we should not break the law knowingly in order to provoke the state into action to arrest you, and then you say they
You cry that I am
Exactly.
being hunted, witch-hunted because I'm homosexual.
I'm homosexual to, you know, to create public outcry. So I think for me, I would like to conclude with those three things.
Richard, have we rediscovered ourselves that we can stand firm in the face of bullies?
Well, probably in a way. But first of all, for me, homosexuality is not going to go away. No. Homosexuality has been here for long. We have heard about it for hundreds of years. Even here, we have heard stories. And that's why even in our languages, the words exist. They are not like motoka or the words that we didn't have. These exist.
I heard President Museveni call them ebitingwa.
Aha. And the word was dying out, in fact. Yeah. A young Munyankore probably would have never heard of that. But you see, so homosexuality is not going to go away from society. Same as bestiality or whatever. Different sexual behaviors that may not conform to what society takes to be the. That's one. The second thing is what is called promotion or propagation, whatever, of homosexuality among especially our young people is not going to go away either. No, it is going to continue because. But
with the regulation now in place.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But even you see, the way it was being done is not really overt. It is always covered. Like all sexual behavior, I mean trafficking and prostitution and things. So that's not going to go away. Probably the efforts are going to be more scientific, more well resourced, more financed, and even more strongly promoted. So we should expect, yes, a lot of our young people to be. But also finally for me, the lobby is not going to take away the limelight from Uganda. The spotlight is going to remain. And I can tell you, the civil society organizations, we feel the heat. Many times you sit in a meeting, and I'm saying this because this has just happened this month. This is April, in March.
This is April.
Seated in a meeting, discussing a possibility of a grant. And you are told, please check your social media, whatever, if you are strongly against homosexuality or you are talking strongly for the law.
You may not win
you actually
a grant.
will not be part of the coalition. Yeah. So this is not, in my view, not going to stop. However, to your question, I think for me it is important that as communities, particularly as Africans, even more as Ugandans, if we feel strongly about an issue, it doesn't matter whether it's an issue of sexuality or whatever, then we should assert ourselves on that.
Thank you so much. Our viewers and comments are coming in. Good morning, Mr. Paul and the panel. I entirely agree with the court ruling. Unless those fighting for this bill to stand, if they can bear kids from that kind of arrangement, then I will join the campaign. Otherwise, God was not mad not to make such an arrangement. I am Abel Akampumuza Keru. Thank you so much for that comment. And another one here. Okay, I will read that one later. Honorable, any lessons that we can pick from this whole thing? Like I asked Baguma, that now we know that we can stand in the face of bullies.
Yes. Uganda and Africa is rediscovering itself. I can start on the way we started assisting colleagues in the Great Lakes region, the Army Front. Uganda now stands tall on the African region.
Is it Ghana that also passed a similar
and
bill?
appreciated by world over?
And Kenya is
that
also
we can assist others.
Kenya is also
lessons are being learned from Uganda. Ghana passed almost a similar law. Mali is about, I think, in 2 weeks or so. Malawi, I mean.
Malawi.
Similar. For us at Parliament, we are seeing our fellow colleagues coming in numbers to benchmark on how we passed the law.
Really?
And I can assure you that in the next 1-2 years, not less than 20 countries in Africa shall have passed this law, which is similar. The court ruling, lessons have been learned that when we are passing this law, we must be smart. And it is another benchmark to our colleagues who are going to pass similar laws regarding anti-homosexuality. So they will be smarter than we were. But we started the road. And I'm sure we have rocked, and our colleagues are coming on.
Wow.
So we have rediscovered ourselves. And lastly,
finally,
on this particular issue is that whereas there is always an outcry when such a law is passed, under the carpet, many things happen. And I can tell you that we continue to discuss with the diaspora, with everybody, in regard to what Uganda stands for.
Okay. Thank you so much, our viewers, and thank you so much for being a great audience there.